Mastering Poetry by Sarah Thorne, Part 2. We have reached into poetic form. In poetic form, we are going to focus in this part on the sonnet, haiku, elegy, lyric, and ode. We definitely do have other forms of poems. However, these are the topics of focus during our lecture. The first form of poetry we are handling here is the sonnet. Although we have different types of sonnets, we are going to focus on the English sonnet. The English sonnet, or the Shakespearean sonnet, is composed of three quatrains, each having an independent rhyme scheme or rhyming pattern, and is ended with a rhymed couplet. So, in the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet, we have three stanzas, three quatrains. Each stanza is of 4 lines and has an independent idea and is rhymed together as ABAB for the first stanza, CD for the second stanza, EF for the third stanza, and then we have the couplet rhymed GG, and the couplet is the conclusion of the poem, 2 lines of poetry rhymed together and summarize the ideas presented in the 3 quatrains preceding or in the 3 stanzas that came before the couplet. Sometimes there are questions or inquiries stated forward in the or throughout the 3 stanzas, and the couplet come to answer the questions. Although it may seem uh, easy for the poet to write a sonnet, as long the rhyming scheme is a bit labyrinth, like ABAB for the first stanza, CD for the second, and EF for the third. However, the difficulty lies in the couplet with its concentrated idea connected to the 3 stanzas. We should not forget to mention that the sonnet, the Shakespearean or the English sonnet, follows the iambic pentameter rhythm. An example of the English sonnet is Shakespeare's sonnet number 116. If we look at this poem, Shakespeare's sonnet 116, we can notice that the first 4 lines, the first stanza, is rhymed like A, B, minds, finds, love, remove. Then we have mark, bark, and shaken, taken as CD. Then EF, we have cheeks, weeks, and come, doom. And finally, we have the couplet as GG. Another form of poetry is the haiku. A haiku is a poem of 3 lines, uh, in total of 17 syllables, arranged as 5, 7, 5 syllables respectively. It started in Japan, written by monks. However, it spread later to the other parts of the world, and we have poets like Ezra Pound, Robert Frost, and W.B. Yeats writing uh, haikus in English. The haikus are known for their simplicity, naturalness, and directness. When we read haikus, we notice that they are celebrating nature. I mean, most topics on the surface present um, an image of nature. However, they have meditative ideas lying within the lines of the haiku. Then we have elegy. An elegy is a poem that starts off mournfully, but it should then praise the dead and finish with comfort or solace for those left behind. An elegy is a poem written on the death of someone or is presenting a melancholic subject. Among the poets who are most known for writing elegy is Edmund Spenser. Another form of poetry is lyric, which is a verse or a poem that is or supposedly is susceptible or being sang to the accompaniment of a musical instrument. Topics covered by poems of this kind are such as love, life, death, social or political issues, but they are presented from a personal perspective, despite the fact that lyric poems are one separate form of poetry. However, any poem that is having a musical atmosphere is known as lyric. That's why we have sonnets, elegies, odes are all called lyrics. Among the poets who are prominent figures in writing lyrical poetry is Sir Thomas Wyatt and Henry Howard. The final form of poetic form is the ode for our lecture today. An ode is a ceremonious poem on an occasion of public or private dignity in which personal emotion and general meditation are united. We have odes usually written on such occasions as marriage, birthdays, death, birthdays, and so on. What is distinctive about odes is that they use profound or refined language. Prominent figures in the field of writing poetry in the form of ode is William Collins and also Thomas Gray. An example of ode: O mischievous usurper of my peace, O soft intruder on my solitude, charming disturber of my ease, that hast my nobler fate pursued, and all the glories of my life subdued. One thing we should mention about the four types of poems, the four forms of poems other than the sonnet, the lyric, the elegy, the haiku, and the ode, is that none of these are restricted by a specific pattern of rhyme, nor they are restricted by a specific type of rhythm. Thank you. See you in part 3.